One of the indicators a lot of people on Wall Street have traditionally looked to as a determinant of how the market might perform during the year ahead is the first trading week of January. And we just finished the first week today. And in fact, all four of the major stock market averages finished a down week, down on the day. The Dow actually held up the best. It only lost about 1/3% on the week. S&P 500, on the other hand, just under 2% down, 1.9%. Russell 2000 had an even worse week, down 2.8%. But the biggest decline of all was registered by the NASDAQ, which was down 4.5% on the week. In fact, the NASDAQ 100 started the year with the worst week since the year 2000. And that's the year the tech bubble burst and the NASDAQ crashed. So if this year is anything like that year, it's a long way down. And the NASDAQ was led lower by some of the most high-flying speculative names that were big winners, at least for a portion of 2021. In fact, if you take a look at the Cathie Wood ARK Innovation Fund, and I've talked about that ETF on this podcast in the past, if you look at that as a proxy on some of those high-flying names, the ARK Fund is down 10.75% for the first week of the year. In fact, it's now off 47% from its record high, which it registered way back in February of last year. And of course, many of the stocks in Cathie Wood's portfolio are down way more than 10%. In fact, more than a third of the stocks in the NASDAQ are down more than 50% from their 52-week high. Many of those stocks are in the portfolio of ARK Innovation. Also included in some of the biggest decliners are a lot of the newly minted IPOs and SPACs from last year. I pointed out on my last podcast that not only did we set a record in 2021 for IPOs, but we also set a record for money-losing IPOs. Well, now a lot of the investors who bought stock in those money-losing IPOs are themselves losing money because those stocks are getting completely decimated so far in 2022. In fact, the decimation started in 2021. I've been talking about it in this podcast, and what may not be as obvious to people beneath the sea of red is the rotation that is going on out of these high-flying momentum stocks into value-oriented dividend-paying stocks, because many of these stocks, including many stocks that I own myself and that we own in our portfolios, made new 52-week highs this week, even as the markets were going down. And even the value stocks that went down didn't go down nearly as much as the momentum stocks. So money is clearly rotating out of the stocks that worked in 2021 into the newer stocks that will work in 2022 and beyond, and that is value dividend-paying stocks, and I think in particular stocks outside the United States. Now, what was the catalyst for the week's carnage? It actually started on Wednesday, and pretty much all these declines have taken place since Wednesday, not really Monday and Tuesday. You know, we were up on Monday, gave some of it back on Tuesday, but the real selling started on Wednesday following the release of the Federal Open Market Committee minutes, Fed minutes. And what surprised the markets, and to an extent it surprised me a little bit, was what those minutes revealed about Fed conversations. The minutes were interpreted as being more hawkish than the markets expected. And again, you know, whenever I talk about hawkish with respect to the Federal Reserve, I'm not really talking about hawks because they're extinct, right? They may as well be the dodo bird at the Federal Reserve. Everybody is a dove. We're just talking about degrees of dovishness. And so the Fed was less dovish than the markets had expected. In fact, the takeaway from these minutes is now the Fed may in fact raise interest rates not 3 times this year, but 4. Now, 4 is not a lock, but the probability of 4 quarter-point rate hikes is higher than it was prior to the release of these minutes. So less dovish, because again, raising interest rates by 1% gradually, or 0.75% over the course of a year against the backdrop of the economic data that we have right now is extremely dovish.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race. You're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address, because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.